Hello, welcome to Raymond Castile's Basement of Horror. No one died this time. No memorials this time. Thank goodness. Am I alive? I think I'm alive. You never know. That could be coming to you from the grave. Today we're going to look at jigglers. Rubber jigglers. Later on, we're going to look at these guys. These are Universal Monsters, licensed. Jigglers. Drac wants to get out of there. He's saying, I don't want to be on this show, but call my agent who booked me for this. But we're going to look at some other ones first. But all of them are made by Imperial. And we will look at some other Imperial jigglers in a future episode, not that long from now. We are coming closer and closer to the end of the season. After this episode, I have 3 more planned. 3 more episodes. Now, I could add one. I don't think I'll take one away. I could add one, but most likely we'll have 3 more episodes. An action figure episode, another jiggler episode, and a strange episode, an unknown episode. You'll have to, I already know what it is. You'll have to wait and see what that final episode will be. As I often do with the final episode, I try to make it a little different. And this one will be a little, not that different, but it'll be a little bit different. But today, we're going to look at some modern era jigglers. These things were made in the 2000s. So not old 60s, 70s jigglers. No. These are fairly recent. But they're all made by a company, a well-known company called Imperial. The Imperial Toy Company. I thought I'd covered some of these in a previous episode, but I went back and I looked at that episode. No. I covered some other jigglers. I didn't cover these, so this is the first time I will have covered these jigglers on this show. But I have talked about Imperial before. Well, let's talk about them again. The Imperial Toy Company was based in California. It was founded in 1969 by Fred Court. He was a Holocaust survivor who immigrated to the United States after World War II. And according to the official company history, his inspiration to create a toy company came from feeling that he had lost his childhood in the Holocaust, and he wanted to somehow make up for that by giving other children a childhood, by spreading childhood fun to other children throughout the world. So that was why he started a toy company, according to the Imperial Toy website that no longer exists. This is some years ago. This was the official history they had on their website. Imperial was best known for rubber jigglers, when I was a kid anyway, like rubber animals, zoo animals. Then in the 80s, now they had some licensed stuff earlier, like they had some Jaws licensed items in 1975. They had a rubber grizzly from the movie Grizzly that was licensed, but they got more into licensed stuff in the 80s. And of course, we've covered their Imperial Universal Monsters action figures, not jigglers, but action figures, and their Godzilla and King Kong toys, and that was all in the 80s. In the 21st century, they stopped making solid rubber jigglers and switched to pellet-filled jigglers. These are stretch toys, which is what we're going to look at. Stretchy jigglers that were hollow and filled with plastic pellets. They didn't make the old oily rubber jigglers anymore. And that seemed to be their main, I don't know if officially that was their main product, but from my perception, that's what I saw when I looked for Imperial toys in the stores. I saw these stretchy jigglers. It was nice that even though they weren't made the old way, it was nice they were still making jigglers into the 21st century. In 2006, co-CEOs Peter Tiger and Art Hirsch purchased Imperial from the Court family. So Peter and Art had been the CEOs of Imperial. Court had passed away, and the CEOs purchased the company from his estate. And at that time, Imperial had 800 employees and annual revenues of $106 million. In 2019, Imperial filed for bankruptcy, and it was sold to J.Rue Inc. So that is the quick summary of Imperial. I don't know how quick it was. I tried to make it quick. That's the Imperial story. When I was a kid, I was very familiar with Imperial because I had all their alligators and snakes and kangaroos and gorillas and all that stuff. Dinosaurs. They had all kinds of rubber animals, and I loved the rubber animals. They also made Close Encounters of the Third Kind alien, which was a rubber bendy. It had wires in it. But that's enough blathering. So let's look at a toy. Let's see here. So first of all, we're going to look at these Jigglers first. We have two sets of Jigglers to look at. First, these. They're all by Imperial. You can see these are Halloween Jigglers. They're marketed for the Halloween season. And this first set came out in 2003. He looks kind of like London After Midnight. Let me get something to put him on and all these other Jigglers so they don't get messed up. So 2003, these Jigglers appeared in Toys R Us stores. That's where I remember them. I'm sure they were all kinds of stores, but in my region they were in Toys R Us stores. And people were excited because these were monster Jigglers, and they're really quite nice, actually. What would be the best way to hold it? I guess by his collar. But these are quite elaborate. I mean, look at those shoes and the pants and everything. It's very realistically sculpted. And it's sculpted in these layers. It's not just one piece where everything is sort of flat against each other. It looks like it's in sections. And he has kind of a London After Midnight sort of a vibe. But also kind of a steampunk, Bram Stoker's Dracula kind of a feeling too. He actually looks a little like Count Orlok with hair. So he's a combination of things. He's got this nice cape. And yes, these are hollow with pellets. I really don't want to stretch them. They're quite old now, but yeah, I'm not going to do that. But you can see they stretch. And if you wanted to really abuse them, you could stretch them quite a bit when they were new. I mean, 2003, that's a long time ago now. So I don't want to be taking these and trying to stretch them that hard. But it's a cool vampire. Cool colors. The blue and everything. You don't see, really in any format, vampires that look quite like that represented in toy form. And these are so nice and clean. I don't want to handle them too much and get them dusty because they haven't been handled since I bought them at the store. I put them in bags and they've been there until now, until today. So they're very nice and clean and bright. And I love the brown semi-translucent rubber on this one. He looks like a Marvel Comics werewolf. This is a werewolf, obviously. But he looks more like Wolverine. And even his pants have that kind of hulkish look. Look at that rubber. It looks good enough to eat. You just want to chew on it. Clearly Marvel inspired. Remember when these came out? It was the dawn of Marvel movies. And I don't remember what year the first X-Men came out, but it was around that time. So Wolverine was a thing. Look at him underneath his chin. I mean, there's as much detail in this as you would expect in a full-blown action figure. The faces are kind of simplistic, but everything else about them is very detailed. This is kind of an odd one. This is a skeleton. Take another look at his tag. This one glows in the dark, and I don't think any other ones do. He's hard to really get a grip on him because he's so skinny and dangly, but he's part of the same set. He was sold alongside the rest of them. He's got some guts in there, kind of like the Loaf Man. He's got some guts. He's an evil little skeleton, and he glows in the dark. And he doesn't look like he'd be part of the same set, but he is. And this is my favorite, the Wicked Witch. I want to do her justice. I love that. That is one of the best Wicked Witch toys I've ever seen. Look at her apple, her hand, her face, her hat. Look at that hat. Look at those striped socks. I mean, she's beautiful. Look at the detail in the shoes. They went all out with her. Look at that face. I mean, what Wicked Witch toy surpasses this? Yeah, I think she's the star of the set. Kind of Disney inspired, but mostly Halloween. But there's certainly a Disney influence. There's a Wizard of Oz, obviously a Wizard of Oz influence. So it sort of takes all this pop culture folklore about witches, Snow White, Disney, Wizard of Oz, Halloween, you name it, and puts it all together into this iconic witch. Look at that. Isn't she cool? And she's a jiggler. I love jigglers, even these modern style jigglers with hollow and filled with little plastic pellets. So if I stretch it and it breaks, you're going to get all those pellets. Or you won't, I will, and I'll have to clean it up. This was in the bag with them. I don't remember how I got him. This is a Chucky. Also Imperial. Made the same way. Same kind of construction. Now he's not part of the same set. He's Imperial, but he wasn't sold alongside those other ones. This Chucky was made in 2007, so he came along 4 years later, and he was part of a set that included Tiffany and Glenn from Bride of Chucky. So Chucky's girlfriend, wife, Tiffany, and then their son, Glenn. I've never seen Bride of Chucky. I hate to say it, but I've never seen it. But I know they've got a son somehow. Well, I'll just leave it at that. I know there's a lot of Chucky fans. I was never really into Chucky. I know people who are super duper into Chucky. So I don't want to denigrate Chucky. I know there's people who just love Chucky. So this set, very cool set, made in 2003 by Imperial. And there was a lot of excitement when those things came out. I remember there was chatter online, like, oh boy, have you seen those Jigglers? And I'm sure they were sold at a lot of different stores, but locally, Toys R Us was the store that had those Jigglers. And they were the store that had these next Jigglers. The set we just saw was a generic, unlicensed set of monster Jigglers. But now we're going to look at a licensed set of Universal Studios Jigglers, also made by Imperial. There had only been one other set of licensed Universal Monsters Jigglers, and that was the Azrak Hanway International Monster Jigglers from 1974. Obviously that's Frankenstein, and it's Universal Studios licensed, and they made the Creature, the Wolfman, the Mummy. They also made an RKO licensed King Kong. No Godzilla in the set. Just Frankie, Mummy, Creature, Wolfman, King Kong. And King Kong was marketed, the Jiggler was marketed separately. I think this might be the smaller one that was sold on the card, I'm not sure, without having them to compare them side by side. But they made a bigger one, and I've got several of these Jigglers. They made bigger ones that were sold with tags, and you've seen those on the show before. And then they made smaller ones that were tied to a card. I'm talking about Azrak Hanway, not Imperial. This was Azrak Hanway in the 70s. And that was it. There were no other licensed Universal Monsters Jigglers. There were generic, unlicensed Jigglers that were obviously based on those characters. Like Ben Cooper and other anonymous companies made various Universal style Jigglers, just like the ones we saw. You could say those are Universal style or inspired. But there had not been another licensed set of Universal Monsters Jigglers. Maybe I'm forgetting something. Tell me if I am. I don't think so. There had not been another licensed set of Universal Monsters Jigglers until 2006. 2006, when Imperial produced these. The generic set we saw was 2003. These are 2006. This box is kind of falling apart because it's held together with tape that has dried up and lost its stickiness. It's a nice little box. Wow. The gang's all there. Wow. Dracula does not want to be in this. He's saying, get me out of this picture. Well, I bought these at Toys R Us, all brand new, and like the other ones, they have been in protective baggies from that day in 2006 till now. So they have not been touched by human hands, they've not been exposed to the dust. So they look very nice, the paint is very nice, and I want to keep them that way. The only one that seems to be having a problem, surprise, surprise, is Count Dracula. How can I hold this guy so he doesn't get messed up? I don't know. There's no way to hold him. Okay. He's got some discoloration, some yellow discoloration. I looked on eBay. Most of the ones on eBay have so much wear, you can't even tell. There's so much paint wear. But there was one that was pretty nice, and it did have that yellow on the chest. So it's not just mine. The paint is discoloring. You can see it on the hands too. That's not because it was exposed to anything. That's just happening. The paint is turning yellow. So that's unfortunate. But other than that, he's pretty nice. Those legs are separate from the cape. At least one is. The other one's kind of stuck. Yeah, they're both separate. So it's cool that these Jigglers have these elaborate capes. both that other vampire and now this. Of course, you're not going to see a Lugosi likeness on that. But he's a neat one. I like the shiny, nice rubber, getting my fingerprints all over it. Yeah. They don't all have exactly the same tag. You'll see that. I mean, most of them, I think, have this tag, but there is a variation in the tag. Lifelike, stretchable. All of these, of course, they are universal licensed. I don't think any of them have actor likenesses. There's no Lugosi, Karloff, Chaney likeness license on any of these, I don't think. Do these cards open up? You know, let's go back to, let's check out the skeleton. No, that doesn't open up. Or does it? It does. Okay, they do. These cards on that other set, they open up. But there's nothing really to see in there. That's interesting to note that they do open up. But I don't think these universal ones do. Do they? I don't want to mess them up. Well, if we see one that's kind of separating, we'll open it up. But this, I'm not sure. It looks like they might. Yeah, I'm not going to screw around with that. It's probably just, if they do open up, it'll just be that gray interior like the other one. Well, here's Wolfman. Now, he looks a lot like that Burger King Wolfman, doesn't he? Same color scheme. Clearly from the same era as far as the style guide is concerned. He's a nice Wolfman. Look at that pose. Isn't that neat? That's a jiggler. That's not an action figure. That's a jiggler. A rubber jiggler. Yeah, Universal was stuck on that orange hair, and they still are. You still see licensed Wolfman toys with all this orange hair. The MC and Mego Wolfman had orange hair. That was a thing for a while. And of course the Burger King Wolfman had orange hair. I think the Jack in the Box Wolfman had orange hair. And he has orange hair. So the style guide could not be escaped no matter what. There was no escaping the style guide. But he's a cool Wolfman, isn't he? He might not look like Lon Chaney Jr., but he's a cool Wolfman. He doesn't have hair on the back of his hands. That's interesting. Does he have sculpted hair? Yeah, he has some sculpted hair. It would have been cool to put some hair on the back of his hands, but that's, you know, the orange color on the back of his hands. But it gives it kind of a weird look. It makes it unique that he's got human hands, or at least he appears to have human hands. His feet are hairy, his head is hairy and wolf-like, but his hands are still human. But he does have sculpted hair. They're just not painted. Here's a Frankenstein. Okay, I think I can get this card open. Yeah, so here's what the cards will look like inside. You know, nothing really to write home about. But they do open up. Here's Frankie. He doesn't, well, yeah, he has a greenish jacket. It's kind of gray, kind of green, but at least it's dark. It's not a bright green. At least it's dark. It's a dark green. It's not black. I wish it were black, but at least it's dark. Not exactly Boris Karloff. painted his wrist sutures. They didn't paint his electrodes, did they? I mean, he's a nice Frankie. He's kind of generic. If we pit him against this, I mean, there's not much of a comparison there, but two very different styles. Of course, I prefer this one. Yeah, he's got a green jacket, but it's very dark. At least to the naked eye, it's very dark. So, I mean, that's acceptable. It would be better if it were black. But that is a very typical Universal Studios licensed. I mean, it's generic looking, but it's a licensed Frankenstein. That's what you would expect from that era. But you know, the Burger King Frankie was Karloff licensed. It had an actor likeness, so it could be done. But in a Jiggler, I guess there wasn't really any point in trying to do actor likenesses. I remember this mummy. So there were people online kind of making fun of this mummy. I remember because people online were talking about these. People were going from store to store buying these up. Luckily, my local Toys R Us still had them. When I went back, I bought them. When I went back again, they were gone. And I just knew from what I was hearing online, there were people going to every Toys R Us in the region just buying all of these. They were trying to corner the market on these things. But there was a lot of chatter online about this stuff. Here's the mummy. And yeah, that's the design Universal was pushing at the time. That's the look for the mummy that they were marketing. And yes, he has a do-rag. He has a do-rag. The mummy has a do-rag. And that's what a lot of the chatter was about with this mummy. What in the world is going on? Why does the mummy have a do-rag? I mean, that's what it is. You can't get around it. That's what it is. The mummy has a do-rag. I'm sure Universal thought they were being so hip, so with it. They were in touch with the kids. It's interesting. He's got a plastic fastener there. See that clear plastic? And I like this detail of the bandage hanging down. That's a nice detail in a Jiggler. With that hole in the middle like that. A lot of detail. He's got a little bit of a pot belly. That's cute. Unfortunately, that head and the do-rag is just silly. Now, there wasn't a Burger King mummy, but there were Jack-in-the-Box mummies, and they did not look like this. They looked like Karloff, basically. They were Imhotep mummies. This is not Imhotep or Charis or anything else. This is a generic mummy. It's not even Claris. That would have been cool, a Claris, which Imperial was doing in the 80s. Their mummy action figure, their Imperial licensed Universal Studios mummy action figure in the 80s was Claris from Abbott and Costello. So that would have been cool if they had done that. Here's everybody's favorite, of course, the creature from the Black Lagoon. I see a trend with these one hand out raised up like that, reaching forward. That's actually a pretty decent creature, given the format. It's got a lot of detail. Look at that. I mean, that's pretty good. there's a lot of detail there. It's a nice creature sculpt. The paint works against it, but at least he doesn't have that light green on his chin, which is something Universal was pushing for a while. He doesn't have that, thank goodness. Aw, his feet are cute. He's a cute little creature. Swim. He's neat. If he were painted a little differently, I think it would be better. But I mean, what do you want? I mean, maybe if the green highlights were a little darker or something. But he's a fun rubber creature toy. He's a rubber creature jiggler, and they really went all out with that sculpt. I mean, that's a really nice sculpt. They could have cheaped out for sure on that, but they didn't. And finally, here's the bride, and for some reason I have two brides, but they're identical. I think I just liked the bride. I don't know what it was, but I have two brides. Now this one, you can see there, it has a different tag. It doesn't look the same. I wonder why. I wonder why the bride, and both the brides had this style tag, so I wonder why it has this different design on the tag. And it's interesting if they have these little plastic pieces on them. You can see her legs in that sculpt, and the way that fabric is draped, it's actually very nice. They're all sculpted very nice. I think these are very interesting sculpts. Certainly for squishy rubber jigglers, you could do a lot worse. And then there's this box, and I don't remember if I got this box at the store or if I got it later. There's no illustrations inside the box. It's all on the front. Or the outside, I should say. I do like the little Easter eggs, so to speak, like the windmill. That is a Frankenstein windmill right there. And even in their new, their theme park in Florida, they've got a giant windmill that catches fire. So these are really cool little jigglers, and I thought this would be an easy episode. Actually, showing the toys was the easiest part. Trying to get through all that exposition was not. I had an unusually difficult time getting through all that. I had a lot of starts and stops, and oh my gosh. But we got through it. Let's put Dracula back so he doesn't keep falling over. Put him behind some other characters. Put Frankenstein in front. And no, I don't store them in this box. I just put them in there for the purpose of this show. To show you what they look like in the box. You can imagine a couple more in there for a full box. Probably 2 of each character, I would imagine. I mean, you couldn't fit many more in there. There's 2 brides as it is, so how many more of these could you fit in this little box? It's neat. It's a nice little set. Box is falling apart because the tape is coming loose because it's old and dry and lost its stickiness. Let's see the Imperial logo, if we can get that a little closer. At the end of their run, that's what the Imperial logo looked like. I think that's it. I hope that was a short one after I finish editing all the starts and stops and pauses and everything else. I thought you might like to see that. I just wanted to find a way to get an extra little episode in. I thought this would be a quick one, easy one. This season is a little short because I had interruptions. I had 2 surgeries to recover from. My cat got sick. This and that stuff happened, and I didn't get as many episodes out in the time frame that I normally do. So it's a little short. Not too much, but it's a couple episodes shorter than usual. We'll have at least 3 more episodes. I don't know if we'll have more. We could, but probably not. Don't expect more, but we'll have 3 more for sure. I'm planning 3 more episodes, and they're all long. I'm dreading shooting these episodes. They're going to be long. I'm going to need to take a day off work just to get these done, or to get each one done. Not all 3, each one. They're going to be long. Especially the next one. I think the next one's going to be a very long episode. All 3 are going to be long. So I have a lot of work ahead of me. My work is never done. Well, it will be done in 3 episodes. We'll have our break for the season. I hope you enjoyed looking at these, and I hope you'll stick around for a few more episodes. You've come this far. Don't leave now. Until next time, thank you for watching. The one who dies with the most toys is dead.